Welcome to Pod 15 of Balls and Brews. Cheers.
Cheers, Trev.
I'm Trevor. This is Chuck. What are we sipping on?
Welcome, everybody. Oh, god damn, that's good. Okay, so, unfortunately, we had to do back-to-back weeks without Mr. Downie. So, that's why the two beautiful faces are in front of you today. And I took advantage of this by bringing us a sour. Because traditionally, Downie doesn't like sour beer at all. A lot of people don't even classify sours as beer. Makes a little bit of sense. If you look at it, though, that's quite a good-looking pour, right?
Like, it's got a nice looks like head. A nice beer.
Yeah, absolutely. But this is from Epic Brewing, and it's called Sour Brainless. It's the pink guava edition, and I gotta tell you, it's fucking phenomenal. You guys, if you like sour beers, it hits on the pink guava spectacularly.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not too as heavy in the sour beers as Chuck, but that's a good one. Definitely get that guava flavor.
But the sour is just perfect.
Yes.
Like it's enough, but it's not like
it's not too much.
I like that though. I like that warhead kind of sour shit, dude, where that goes it just like hits you and you're like
hits pucker. The tongue with a little puck.
I like the pucker, dude. I really do. They're out of Denver, Colorado. So too bad we didn't drink it last week because we were celebrating the Nuggets victory, but you know, life happens. The pink guava, though, I would definitely say that shines through, right? It's not just sour. Like, some sours are literally like that's what it is, just a sour beer. Like, but this one, you definitely get fruit.
Yeah, and I think that's pretty important for sours.
I would agree. Especially for the casual sour drinker, which there really isn't. It's kind of one of those brews that is, like, very distinct. You're either you really enjoy it or you just really don't. Like, there's not kind of like, they're okay. So, which brings us to our beer question of the week. The topic is, we touched on last week about home brewing and if we have tried. Both of us said we were unsuccessful. Trevor said he never really even got his kit out of the kitchen, out of the box and into the kitchen. I at least tried mine, didn't go too well. But let's fast forward and say we were master brewers. What kind of brew would you special in, Trevor?
Again, it would probably be a dark brew.
Okay.
I like my nutty browns, maybe even a creamy porter.
Okay.
Off the top of my head, it would be like, if I could get a sweet like pecan brown, I think that could be really tasty.
Okay.
I always like the toasted like sweet pecans, so if you could kind of
when that goes with the malt and that
could be really good.
Wow, okay, I like that. I don't know if I've ever had a brew down that avenue kind of thing, so I'm sure I've had pecan or almonds. I know I've had in beer, so like pecan probably as well. But that nutty, I like that idea. That's very specific. I was just gonna go with like my absolute favorite style of beer overall is a porter. I can drink porter. I wish porters were around more now in summertime than they are. I feel like the beer seasons, I get it that dark beers come out when it's cold and it reminds but they should be out now when it's hot. If you think about it, like dark beers should be preserved for all year, but porters are my favorite. I would love to master a porter. Is
there a particular flavor profile you'd go for?
I mean, that just robust, really, like, it's almost like, it's not a brown. It's definitely deeper than a brown, but it's also not a stout, like a porter, which is weird because I'm not a coffee guy, but I really like my browns and porters kind of aggressive. Not spicy, but I don't know if, like, some porters, they don't, I want that aggressive mouthfeel, and I want it to kind of pack that, like, additional, like, some beers do the tobacco route. It's not necessarily that aggressive either. Like, I don't know. I guess I'm not doing a very good job of painting it, but
yeah, no, I kind of get it. I like the blend of like a bitter coffee flavor.
Yes,
with the bitter beer flavor.
It's got a little bit of that bitterness to it for sure.
Yeah, personally, I like porters too. So like some of my favorite have been like the vanilla coffee kind of flavors. for the porters.
Dude, the vanilla porters can be very good too. That is absolutely, the mouthfeel is all important, I would say, on dark beer.
Much.
Like, that's very much the first presence that you gather in dark. So we'd both go dark beer. Yeah. Like, I love sours. I have no interest in brewing them. I would brew dark beers for sure. Like, or barrel aged long. Although, to be fair, you know, one of the things that's funny, I will go into a little sidebar here about sours, is that they actually age longer than most any other beer. That's how you get that extra fermentation. Like, you introduce different bitters into it. I'm gonna butcher the name of the Briticetamines is the best offshoot I can say for it. And as you kind of marry those into the traditional malt wheat flour, it sours it, but not in the way that it I guess technically a fermentation is a rot, but it's not overly rotted to where it's like, God, it's fucking disgusting, right? But it takes anywhere from 18 to 24 months to make a sour of this nature.
Do you know if it's like a wine, like the aging process?
Yes,
it changes the profile flavor.
Yes,
and
correct.
The longer, the more rich.
100%. I can absolutely say that for sure. And like, it's weird that, like, I've seen processes, I've seen people talk about, like, if you introduce, like, this is going to sound gross to mostly everybody, but, like, if you sit in it and you let, like, skin and, like, the sourness from, like, the human body can ferment alcohol a lot quicker. Like, it's a way to make alcohol a little bit more funky, a little bit quicker. I don't know if that sounds like a prison technique, but that is 100%. People will sit in vats of sour alcohol to sour it quicker because 18 to 24 months is, I mean, a long fucking time, dude. Like, for one brew, that's why you gotta charge a lot for it when it comes out on the back. It's not, here's to put it into perspective. Yeah, to put it into perspective, your average Bud Light, Budweiser, Michelob, any of those umbrellas, whatever the hell you want, you know, all of those lagers, they take anywhere from 2.5 to 3 weeks to make, you guys. Not even a month is a batch. So
that's the flavor you get.
Right. Exactly. But you're already so far out in front of that, you got batches and batches and batches and batches and batches of that made. That's why something, you know, that is uniquely made with only once every 2 years, like, come on, you guys, you're going to pay for that, right? Like, what you got to determine whether or not you like it. I understand why a motherfucker's not going to go to a bottle shop and pay $30 for a sour if they're, you know, kind of murky on sours, but a lot of those beers can run that tab, you know what I mean?
For sure.
But as far as us, we're brewing dark beers. We want to hear from you guys. What would you brew?
Leave it in the comments.
Please do. All right, man. So let's actually get into the balls section of, you know, our pod, our favorite sports talk. College baseball, right? We talked about college softball and how awesome that was. The college baseball World Series has been going on too. They're in the finals, and it's LSU versus Florida. It was supposed to be Wake versus Florida. Those were the best two teams all year, but then LSU upset Wake in the semis. So it was 1-0 LSU going into today's game, and Florida absolutely dominated. Yeah, they blew them out. It was like 11-3 the last time I seen it. It was ugly. So 1-1 there going into a third game. They only do 3 games, man. No 7-game series there.
This is it.
Yeah, they get through their playoffs very quickly. In all of baseball, to be fair, there's only, the championship games and then the World Series is 7 in baseball, and I applaud that, dude. And they play the longest season. I think I've said this on this pod before, and I'm going to beat a dead horse, I suppose, but, like, you should, the playoffs should be happening, man. You shouldn't have to wait, like... The NBA took, because of the goddamn 7-game series in the Eastern Conference, it took an additional, week and a half almost.
Yeah, definitely the longest playoffs in sports.
But, you know, let's see if LSU can pull off the upset, because Wake is the heavily favored team going into Game 3, so...
Wake is? Or not Wake?
I'm so sorry. I screwed that all up. It is Florida. Yes,
Florida.
no, Florida is the overwhelmingly favorited team.
Over LSU.
Yes, correct. Even though that's all SEC. That's funny, man.
Yeah, it's all SEC.
Because if that's football, that's going Tigers over Gators all day. Speaking of, okay, look, I want a little sidebar once again.
Sidebar.
Did you see that Netflix is going to release a documentary on the Florida Gators, the Urban Meyer Florida Gators,
Yes,
with Aaron Hernandez and Tim Tebow and the Pouncey brothers and Percy Harvin and
I think
Cam
that should
Newton.
be good.
Oh my god, it's going to be insanely good, dude. They're going to have the depth, the layers to like really introduce. Like, there's so much stuff, so much mystery around that team overall, like how it happened at the time, that how it was allowed to happen, because this is post USC where Reggie Bush got a car or a house for his mama, and they fucking murdered that school for that offense, but then they just let Florida do whatever they want. They never came under any fire, did they? They never lost
Urban
any
just
of their...
changes jobs. That's
He did.
all.
He retires for a year. He analyzed, and then he came back to Ohio State.
Continue.
So that should be a really good documentary, I would say. ESPN, the 30 for 30s, dude, those are my favorite. Like, that's my favorite thing ESPN puts out these days overall. Like, I know their daily news is great, and we all follow that as sports spectators, but, like, their 30 for 30s are great, man. Even topics that you're not interested in, if you watch them and just as general sports fans,
They're interesting, yeah.
Super interesting.
So, what else we got going on in baseball?
In baseball, man, this is the big news, right? Outside of, like, the NFL's been kind of stagnant, I would say. The NBA, we're going to do big NBA talk, so we're not going to touch on this in the first segment because there's so much going on in the NBA. It's the best part of the time of the year for them.
Yes.
Unfortunately, like I was just pointing on, the NFL doesn't really give us a whole lot. There's no free agency movement. We could do some, who's most improved or Mount Rushmore things. We don't want to bore you with any of that. So we're going to go into the MLB, which is hype right now, actually. Ellie De La Cruz in Cincy has gone absolutely bonkers, dude. In his first 15 games, he hit for the cycle. That is the first time that has happened since, like, I saw 1904 or 1906 or 1900-something.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah, dude. This guy, once again... rewriting history is so crazy. Like, you don't think that you're going to see this kind of stuff, and then boom, there it happens. Ellie De La Cruz for Cincy, they had an epic comeback against
Atlanta.
Yes, the
Down
Braves.
5, come back to finish the game 11-10.
Epic.
And yeah, Joey Votto hit 2 home runs in that game. So, I mean, the fusion of, like, young and old for the Reds, it's just hitting on all cylinders.
And they were
right now.
boo-boo last year. This is one of the things that we wanted to touch on, was that the parity in Major League Baseball right now is wonderful. There are a lot of bottom feeder teams or teams that were at the bottom last year that are making a run towards things this year. That's always good to see, I would say.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the Blue Bloods, Aaron Judge is hurt as well. Did we see this? He has a fucking blown out toe.
Did you see him run into that fence?
Yeah, is that where that happened?
Is that
what? Yeah, dude, that was a hell of a play, man. That highlight will go down in infamy. It was fantastic. Check it out on YouTube if you haven't. While you're, after you watch this, obviously, or stop it and come back. It's okay. We're okay. But watch that highlight, man. It was monstrous. This is just a fucking Hulk of a man running through, a wall. No wonder why. Yeah, so he has a contusion and a ligament busted in his big toe, and that's huge. That man that big, and then, like, your big toe is surprisingly, like, without it, you can't function, right? They're saying he's done for the year.
Really?
No, that's what I heard preliminary was most the year.
Not only does he bring the stats as far as his what he turns out, what he does on the diamond, but also he's the leader for the Yankees, so I think that's also hurt them. That they went into a slump a little bit without him earlier. So
they did last year too.
Yeah, that's no good for the Yankees.
Is Stanton back? Did Giancarlo? He's playing though, right? Or no?
I think, but I
clearly he's not in the headlines. But Judge, man, we wish you best. Baseball is better when you're healthy. For sure. And that's a freak injury. Normally when a guy's that big, it's something with knees or hips or something like that. So I wouldn't necessarily say this plays under the, oh, now he's getting old, he's going to start getting hurt kind of thing. That's kind of a one-offer, you know what I mean? So baseball, it's good to see you guys stepping out of it. We haven't really reported a lot on you guys recently, but it's nice to see some big stories coming out of it. The Rangers are another big story out of the AL West. They're smoking both the Astros and my Mariners like they were. You called that, by the way, Trev. Well, I mean, you were high on the Rangers well before Zachary, so I have to give you credit there.
Yeah, they have a nice young squad. The hitting is great for that team. If they just had the pitching, if Grom could have stayed healthy, that team would be fire.
Even further. Yeah, sure. No, with the AL, the Astros have kind of been streaking, so they're hot on the heels. I think that roster is too good to not at least push for not only the division but absolutely the playoffs. Like there's no way that you're going to discredit them from that. But shout out to the, I hate to say that, to the Rangers. You know, man, it's. You want to see this. You do. You want to see teams that, like, this is my last year Seahawks. Going into the season, we were supposed to win 3 or 4 games and compete for the top pick in the NFL draft, and we won 9 games, man. Like, yeah,
it's always nice to have that pleasant surprise, the talent and the team starting to come together and look like a squad.
Especially if that's your team that you're pulling for. Like it's cool as a casual fan. You're like, oh, this team was supposed to suck. Well, it's good to see them, go against the evil empire, if you will, or the teams that are always fucking good. Like the MLB is a kind of a league that there is the if you are the top 10%, you almost always remain there. Like very rarely do teams have a falling out if you're the although Boston is kind of falling off. They're one of those teams.
Cardinals, like, man.
This year, they've been really roller coastery. They have a lot of talent, though, and with 1,005,000 games left, they can still turn it around. That's also the thing. That's one of the reasons why, let's be honest, you guys, we haven't necessarily reported on overwhelming storylines, because until after the All-Star break and all of, that's a little bit even later than half of the season.
Yeah, we'll hit on it more then. For
yeah,
sure.
Because you're going to want to know, like, when 30 games are left is when playoff pushes kind of start and, like, things of that nature.
The season starts to shape out.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. Because you could drop 7, you could drop 10 in a row, and it's like, that sucks. That's not good for morale. But there's plenty of time to turn it around. So it's like...
Or win, a dozen in a row like the Reds were on before Atlanta put the brakes on.
Yeah, and your G-men were on a fucking run, too. The Giants were going. So,
that was nice to see, because again, not expecting that.
I saw the A's won a couple of games.
Yeah, they
were on like a 7-game win streak, yeah. But that's not going to matter in the big scheme of things. So we're not trying to sit here and, prognosticate 3 games win, oh, dude, these guys are hot. Like, in MLB, unfortunately, that's not how the game works. Like, yeah, it's more of, but that playoff push, man, ooh, that's sweet. That is good in the MLB, though. I do love that even though the season is long, typically wild cards are not decided until like a day or 2 before playoffs kind of start. Like they are always tight. Yeah, you get your teams that are 30 games under 500, Oakland. But you
Welcome
get those.
To Vegas.
Dude, they're not gonna. All right, fine. You know what? Okay. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to tell you right now. I live in the state of Nevada. We live in the state of... Zach, wherever you're at in the rodeo, we love you. But he lives in the state of Nevada. And it is not... Vegas is too big for the MLB. I know that sounds crazy. Nobody's going to give a shit in Las Vegas about the A's. Is anybody going to give a shit?
The only way they do is if they change
how
they
run
that business completely. And that's a big ask, I feel like. They've got to, though, if you don't want to be successful.
They got to win. You got to win to be loved.
Otherwise, it's just going to turn into like a Florida thing where they're just kind of running it like a business.
They're just there.
Cash.
They're just there.
Be there.
Yeah. And that just bums me out for the fans in Oakland, man, because that's a rich fan base. Did you see? Okay, did we talk about? I don't think we talked about it. They did a reverse boycott.
Yeah.
Did anybody see this? Like, I mean, too little, too late kind of thing. Like, But it's not the fans' fault. What they're saying is if you put a good product in our city or even try to show improvement, we would be here. It has nothing to do with us not loving the team and not having history. It's more speak on the owner. They don't want to give the owner the money.
You want fans to show up, you got to try.
You have to try. We've talked about this several times. It's not a matter of we understand that not every swing is going to connect. But you gotta swing. You can't just sit in the batter's box and watch all of them go by you.
Yeah, and not every year is going to be your year, but you gotta try to make moves to build something, and the A's just are not doing that, obviously. So
don't come to Nevada. Damn it, man! My tax dollars are gonna go towards this.
Yep.
The Vegas Raiders made sense to me. I don't like the fucking Raiders, but they're gonna make money.
Oh, yeah.
The NFL's gonna make money hand over fist, whatever the fuck they're doing. So yeah, that vote was 100%. That wasn't. I didn't even go to a vote. That just went through. They're like, oh, you chose Vegas, thank you.
Well, yeah, and everyone that's in power to make that decision happen. It's just an opportunity as they see it for not only for the jobs to create the stadium and build everything, but also to bring in, tourists to come see the other teams that are playing.
Right,
not the A's itself, which is why overall it's going to go
that is
south.
A good point. That is a good point. Nevada in general is very transient. And a lot of people travel within, Reno and Vegas and that whole thing, and that is actually a very good point. Is that it's gonna turn into SoFi for the Rams, where even though it's a home game, there's gonna be more of the visiting team.
Probably.
Okay, I guess I didn't necessarily think of that angle, but money is money, no matter whose pocket it's coming from. So if you're pulling the visitor seats, you really don't care. You're just trying to fill the stadium because it's gonna be a stadium, a baseball stadium over $1 billion. It's another $1 billion stadium that's going up. It's not some, couple $100 million. Once again, ownership, pay for that fucking stadium. I swear to God, it should not be coming out in my taxes. It should not be coming out in my taxes. Your taxes. Any Nevadans' taxes.
Shout out to the Knights, though, for handling a lot of that on their side. That was a deal that they paid for. They were happy to do that, too. And, I mean, the fans have obviously rallied behind it. So.
To be fair, look, I'm not a Vegas fan, but shout out, it is thick. It runs thick in Vegas and in Reno big time, too. It is a very beholden, even more so than the Raiders, I would say the Knights actually have a cult following here. The Raiders, yes, they came from Oakland. Oakland actually isn't far from Reno in the fucking first place anyway. So, that's only, 3.5 hours from where we're at?
To Vegas? Or
no, to from Oakland to Reno.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, of course you'll have that kind of crossover fan. I'm sure, a lot of Californians have moved to Nevada, so you'll get the fans in, and as football is as big as it is, it'll draw no matter what. That's why that made sense.
Sure. Do you think the A's, so if, I guess, if we weren't talking from the visitors section, do you think the Las Vegas section for the A's, do you think the A's are going to have home games worth a damn? No.
It's going to be a small attendance, again, unless the whole culture management changes, which I'll believe it when I see it. So I'm sure
that has to be
the same way.
That has to be the call to action, though, right? That has to be when that happens.
Would like it to be, especially. The A's come across some good players. They've done a good job farming. It's just they deal them out.
They deal. They don't want to pay. They deal, but then they don't get the talent on the back end worth the value that they're dealing. The A's have been. I don't know where you're at right now. I know where you're at. They could.
If they wanted to.
Just pay them. Pay the guys that you find. You just touched on it. The farm has been great for the A's, but not the pay. You billionaires on this team. Pay them. Pay people to be successful. You know what they say? It takes money to make money. Okay? If you're
cash rolls everything around.
Hey, cream, get the money, dollar bills, y'all. We're going to have a music fandom at some point. I know it's going to be off the beaten path of the sports talk, but that is one of my biggest fandoms. I kind of wanted to touch on it. Wu-Tang Clan ain't nothing to fuck with. I think that there's fandoms in all directions. I think that there is open topics that we can bleed into, and I love that. But as far as
baseball,
I was going to say, I want to wrap that up because we're rambling at this point. A's, the organization, you need to figure your shit out. Nevada, I get it. It bums me out, but I get it. Like, I like to see the parity. We are going to come back. We're going to talk big time NBA. We got some trade rumors, some actual trades. We got a little bit of draft recap we want to go over. There's going to be a good NBA dive.
Yeah.
Trevor doesn't have anything to cheers me with. He drank that beer real quick, so I'm assuming he liked it. He said, I'm not the sour guy, but then he sucks it down real quick. He was thirsty.
That's thirsty.
It was tasty. But we appreciate you guys. We're going to come back. We have a cider. We're going way off topic here. This Balls and Brews. Downie, you gotta come back and keep us in line. Otherwise, the two of us are just, we don't know what we're doing around here. But we'll be back shortly, guys. Thanks. Balls and Brews.
Balls and Brews. Welcome back.
Cheers.
Cheers. All right.
Pod 15.
So, what are we sipping on here?
Well, even though we're called Balls and Brews, this is definitely not.
This is the brew segment, right?
You brew it, I guess, but
hold that thought. Did you get them all out?
One more?
All right, I think we're good.
I think we should let's just.
Cheers.
Cheers, Trev.
Welcome back to the pod. What are we sipping on here?
Pod 15. This is Advid. This is Cider. This is Advid Cider Co. Once again, I kind of abused the idea that Zach wasn't with us, so I think he likes ciders, but I'm not quite sure. I'm pretty... Yes, we've drank some ciders together. Yeah. Either way, brought a cider to the household tonight. This is from Advid, like I just said. It's called Royal Apricot. It drinks at an 8.5. It's an imperial cider.
And I kind of like that it doesn't feel like the sugar from the fruit is like too much.
Okay.
It has kind of a lighter profile that most ciders do. Because I think if that's too heavy, that can ruin a cider, in my opinion.
The overly sugary effect of it.
Yes.
I feel like that can happen in any if you really like the taste of alcohol, you don't want it to be super sweet.
Right.
It's kind of anti the taste of most, except
a little sweet to go with that bitter, but you don't want it to be overpowering.
I guess rum is the only it's why I don't drink rum. It's the only liquor I can think of that is designed to like play on the sweet factor, right? Like everything else, vodka, gin, tequila, whiskey
rather
sure
play on
now,
the smoky factor,
right?
with
100%, 100, or like a deeper,
mezcal.
Yeah, some sort of barrel aged. Like they're not looking to go sweet. You can make them sweet, but I would say all rum to me is fucking sweet. If you could suggest to me a rum that isn't, like, I'm all ears.
SoCo is really bad too.
No,
that's too sweet a whiskey.
Even dark rums that I've had have been too inherently sweet. They all have this like after.
Sure, I like a little like brown sugar flavor, but they go heavy, maybe with the rum more than any other.
It's the one that I don't lean towards. If we'll just make it an all alcohol podcast this go, but like rum is the only one I want. And then like when it comes to, I guess, what would you call sake? Would you call that is that a liquor? That's a wine. It's a wine.
Oh, it's a rice wine.
A rice wine. Yeah, not a fan of that. Other than that, like wines, like, fuck man, like sake is gross though. Do you like warm or cold, or do you like sake at all?
I mean, Heather and I usually drink the hot sake. I feel it goes well. It's a good pairing with
like sushi.
Fish.
Okay, all right, okay, that makes sense.
So that's why we drink it. I mean, the sweet sake, if you're that's probably the route I would go if I was drinking it by itself. But even some of that stuff can be overly sweet. It's like a It's like a sweet wine sometimes.
Moscato is what you're gonna reference. Yeah. I just don't like. I love rice. Rice is my absolute favorite carb, or like almost like. Don't get me wrong. I'm a white boy. Love my potatoes. Okay, in all facets of the game. But like rice, fuck, dude. Rice just soaks up every flavor around it, and it just gets fluffy when it's cooked. Oh my god, I love rice. But I don't like rice wine. I don't like sake. I don't like rice wine at all. At all. Like, I've tried warm, cold, sweet, whatever.
Have you done
like,
the sake bombs?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Didn't care for those either.
No, because normally it's done with shitty beer. So it's like shitty beer and sake. It was just not a pleasant experience. But overall, I do want to mention, I don't think I shouted this out, Bend, Oregon, once again, man. We've been drinking a lot of different samples from specifically that city in Oregon, so shout out to you guys.
Good brewing city.
Yeah, clearly, man. I mean, we're talking Deschutes is up there. What was the other one that we sampled from there? Just
we got Rogue, there's...
Rogue isn't... Yeah, I mean, come on. Fuck, man.
God, I can't even think of it. Man, they do a lot of IPAs. They have so many brewers up there.
But shout out to Ben, dude. Seriously. All right, so...
Ninkasi?
Ninkasi's in Ben. That's right, too. Yeah, shit, Ninkasi's fantastic. Yeah, Dawn of the Red is wonderful.
Yes.
Like, I've had some of their... Okay, real quick, before we get into sports, Ninkasi had this... space beer. It was an anniversary beer that they shot into orbit, and it doesn't necessarily mean or add anything, but like it was a bourbon barrel aged beer that aged in space. Well, not deep space.
You're welcome, aliens.
Yeah, right, dude. It was really good too. It was a tasty beer, but that was an Ninkasi. Remember that came in this cool fucking like translucent style box where it had like the rainbow effect or whatever, the shimmer effect. It was cool. But yeah, Bend, Oregon, dude, shout out to them doing some big things as far as the alcohol game. All right, so the big news right here, and we pitched at it earlier, is the NBA. So let's get into that. Let's go ahead and talk about the draft first, because that's the most recent. And honestly, it was kind of anticlimactic, right?
Yeah, I think we'll get into the bigger news where I think the moves before the draft. But yes, the draft kind of went as predicted with Wembanyama going number 1 to the Spurs.
Wemby, there was no doubt. That was the closest thing to 100%er you could ever see.
Yeah, and then the second pick, that was where things got interesting. They went with Brandon Miller, which I think it was more a fit for both the team making the second and third pick. Okay. And probably has the higher ceiling, but definitely the lower floor. Like, I think Scoot Henderson going 3 definitely has the higher floor. He seems like he's going to be...
the more polished, ready to go.
Yeah, like, I think it's really going to be between him and Wembanyama for Rookie of the Year. I really do.
Miller is what that said to me, that is that he didn't drop, so all of those legal issues I think are not a consideration right now. The NBA, or you don't draft somebody number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, even in the top 10. Although Jalen Carter kind of made it out that way too. The talent provides a longer leash, but what I'm more or less trying to say is that I think Brandon Miller is going to just coast into the NBA. The Charlotte Hornets are bad though, dude. They are one of those teams that they have not been good since Alonzo Mourning and Larry Johnson. They have not been good since we have been young, dude. For real.
They still drafted him even with that dust up with MJ, but MJ's also
on the way out. He's gone. He's gone. He already sold it. Yeah, he's going to sign over them papers within the next week, whatever. As soon as the lawyers will let him. He's got to make that money. I heard... this could be very well false, and I guess I'm just putting it out there without talking it. But this is coming out. He sold it because he lost so much in NASCAR sponsoring that Bubba Wallace team, is what I heard.
Really?
That he had to make money, more than enough money back to not net loss. So $2 billion.
We touched on it last pod. I think, he was just on his way out because it just hasn't worked. It just hasn't worked. So
he
could be less stress for him and that team
as an owner. No, that's MJ, dude. Your playing legacy will never be touched, but you're not going into the Hall of Fame as an executive or as an owner or anything managerial, dude. He's been bad.
Sure, yeah, it doesn't always work out.
No, which is crazy because he's had top picks.
Yeah.
how can the best of all time, the GOAT, not be able to scout talent? No, to be able to interview, ask the right questions, figure out the guys that you need to get in that room. How does he not know that?
Because you're good at one thing doesn't make you good at another. I mean, I know.
That is true, and I guess that it's fair to defend him in that sense. But he also just comes off as an asshole, right? Maybe he just doesn't know how to fucking talk to people.
Well, yeah. I mean, he kind of like Kobe, but Kobe learned to turn that off. Like,
oh man, Kobe in his later interviews, that is one thing for sure. That like
Jordan, he's that guy.
He seemed like the coolest dude once he was off the court. Like, he really did listen to his, the 5 to 7 years before he passed, where he was doing podcasts and different interviews and camps and shit. He seemed like he came off as the most genuine dude. Like, I think he did realize, like, hey, I can turn off Mamba. Like, it's time to be Kobe. And he really became super relatable. But at the same time, this is something I've talked about with a couple of other people. I don't know if we've talked about this, Trev, or not, but, like, the difference that separates the tippy top of the mountain, other than I would say Nikola Jokic, and the rest of the mountain is that willingness to just be psychotic about the want to win. That's all that you care about. It is just the game at the moment, and that's it.
Yeah, no, actually, I'm gonna touch on that later. That might come back in the fandom.
We're gonna a little foreshadowing.
But just to go back to the third pick, Scoot Henderson. Like,
okay, let's keep
him
on
going
track.
to the Blazers. A lot of people were talking about if he went there, then they would move off.
Is that the end of the Dame era? Is that can they coexist? Right?
That's been everyone in the media's speculation. But the GM said it's the goal to have him play with Lillard to kind of have that kind of mentor mentality from the articles that I've read.
Sure, but why would Dame want that?
Yeah, that's what I think is why.
I guess
he's made it clear that he wants to either compete or move on, and I can't see the Blazers really competing yet. They're not there. They're in a rebuild, so it makes more sense to move off.
No,
which
West
could lead to
crazy.
some fun news later on for the NBA.
Do you guys, and do you, Trev, do you think that Dame is going to get traded? Do you think that he's going to hold out? Do you think he'll just not show up? Like, we still have a lot of preseason. We're now full off season in basketball, and holdouts do happen. Like, he could not show up. What if he just did? I don't think he would. I really don't think he has the character to do. Yeah, exactly.
The thing is, I don't understand, like, the organization. It seems like they're in a place where it'd be more beneficial to move off of him, but they just are holding on for maybe because they just like the player that he has been and what he's done.
It's the last thing to put seats.
Yeah,
asses in seats. It really
they're not
is.
thinking. It seems like it's more of a heart play than a head play.
100%. A head play, you move off of him. His value's still high. You can get players back for him. He wants to leave now. Head is absolutely move on from Lillard. Heart is save him because the fans... But Lillard has love for the fans. The fans have love for Lillard. That sells tickets. You know what I'm saying? Because they could make a move to get younger, and they should, because they should play with their head. That's how you should base it.
Sometimes, the tough decision is the best decision, and they haven't gotten there yet. It doesn't seem like. I mean, we'll see. So if
what
it's
pushes
just
them over that edge?
I mean, the right deal for sure. I mean, and I think the Heat could make it because I think they have the most really to offer. But we'll see.
Do you think that they couldn't? They should have been entertaining deal. Nobody came over. What do you think a fair deal for Dame is though? Right, like player pick. You got to get 2 firsts and a player or 2 for him, right? Like,
I mean, ideally, yes, you'd like to get someone that you can help lead the team now that's younger, and then of course you want to keep building through the draft, so some of those picks would be valuable as well. I know Miami's picks aren't maybe as valuable, but they have a lot of pieces I think that Portland could use to kind of shape the rest of that roster. There's other teams, of course, that are probably in the mix that we're not hearing about, but they're just one of the first that come to mind.
Sure. No, I guess and also for the league, Dame does need to get out of Portland. He does.
I think it would be it's
time.
It'd be better for the NBA, not just.
That's what I'm saying. No,
it'd be better for the Blazers.
I'm not shitting on the Blazers, even though if the Supersonics were still in Seattle, I would shit on the Blazers. But it's been long enough to let that one go, I suppose. But
don't have that rivalry anymore.
I mean, the I-5 rivalry will come back when we get a team. We have an arena. NBA, you're gonna expand anyway. Like that's a fandom. That's too much passion there. But as far as what the NBA, yes, Dame would do very well. He is now in that veteran status where ring chasing. At this, you have stayed loyal. You've played out 3 contracts for this team, man. You have fought and scrapped. You went on record saying,
"The fans aren't going to be bad.
I don't wanna leave. Build around me. Let's fucking go. I'm here for you." Now we get it. Everybody gets it. You have been patient. You put a little input in. Nobody listened. You put a little bit in. They didn't listen. You put a little bit in. They didn't listen.
Well, did they not listen, or did just free agents don't want to go to Portland?
Man, yeah, why the fuck would you want to go to Portland?
They really have to just hit it in the draft, and that's hard to do.
There are no blockbuster trades that go Portland's
not
way
easy.
more. Fair enough. No, that is a great take. I would say that location of city, legacy, things like that matter to certain players, and whether they will. Some aren't. Most don't have no trade clauses, but the ones that do are the most important ones, right? So those are the hard ones to get after anyway. So if they're not, I'm not gonna go play in Portland.
Yeah, and that's another reason why I feel like they're holding on to him is he's just that hometown hero.
He's the superstar for sure. Unless you get you gotta. That's what I'm saying. You gotta get a superstar for him and future,
right?
Like which. It doesn't look probable at this point. Like
we'll see. I mean, I'm hoping that turns into some news later on. Do you have any more on Dame? Or?
No, I think that is more than enough, Dame, dude. Right. Where we really need to go, man. Come on. There was a huge 3-team trade, right? We got to talk about that.
Before we get into the trades, I just want to touch.
Yes, let's go.
I got a little bit more draft.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, Money. I didn't mean to cut
Thompson
you off.
twins.
Oh, yeah, brother. Oh, I'm sorry. Brothers going back-to-back 4 and 5. That was pretty neat, man.
Yeah, NBA history. Top 5 for 2 twins in the top 5, man.
Detroit and Orlando. And also, they went the
Rockets and the Pistons is where they went.
Oh, the Rockets. I'm so sorry. It was the Rockets. For some reason, I was thinking the Magic. Yeah, the Rockets and the Pistons.
Also, both of them coming from overtime elite, I think that goes a long way in how well they play. Like, it could mean a lot for that league.
Right. I think that it does a lot. Does it do a lot for that league? You know, okay, I was hearing this really good fucking conversation about the NBA draft, and the reason why it's not successful is because you don't know who the fuck's getting drafted in the top 5.
Right.
I'm not saying the Thompson brothers aren't worthy of those picks, but playing in a situation where you're casual...
But you got a guy from France.
Right.
You got the one guy from
Who's watched
Alabama.
Wemby played.
Then we got a G League in the overtime elite,
which is what technical league? What league is that? Really, I don't even like.
It's its own kind of league. It's like the G League, but it's not.
Right. So okay, once again, not to say these kids aren't talented, but the casual NBA fan isn't like, oh, dude, I've watched these guys in overtime elite, on my spare time, like. In the NFL, the reason why that draft is so fucking epic is because you have to be 3 years removed from high school, which means you can't just play 1 year somewhere and then come into the NBA.
Minimum.
Right, you got to be redshirted and play 2. So you've heard about them. They've all played big games somewhere in some way. There's some lower end schools that also put out good talent. Let's not shit on them. But like the upper end guys, they're coming out of fucking banger schools every year. There's blue bloods like in the NBA now. I'm not saying obviously the international circuit is turning out amazing players. Look at the MVPs over the last 4 years. They've all been international. Like, it's not to say that it's not good basketball, but the casual fan doesn't watch leagues in France, doesn't watch, leagues in Greece. Like, obviously
probably doesn't watch much G League or overtime elite either.
Yeah, exactly. So it's
just not doesn't have the same kind of build, the following, the hype. I mean, they still have a lot of hype. Obviously, they're going to the top of the draft, but it's not being as familiar, I guess.
Familiarity. That's exactly what it is. You're not pulling Kansas, Duke. Where were they? where I mean, there were some Michigan prospects. There are some, but at the top 5, we just named 4 out of the top 5 guys weren't college guys.
Right.
Like that's gonna hurt the brand overall. I would say. I think that might be a bigger concern than not.
And just to finish up with the draft talk, I want to touch on 6, Anthony Black, a shooting guard from Arkansas. Musselman was the coach in Nevada, so it's good to kind of. And Arkansas had a nice tourney run.
They sure did, dude.
So I mean, it's
they
good
got to
to
the
see
Elite
him
Eight,
get
right?
that going. Yeah. So
yeah, no, Muss is a ridiculously good coach, man.
And yeah,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the Magic also took Jet Howard. He was their second pick. They had the 2 highest picks in the first round. He's another shooting guard, so they doubled up on shooting guards at both 6 and 11 were their picks.
Okay.
Magic have a nice young group of talent. I mean, hopefully it turns into something before they trade him away. But that's kind of
there's another one that they had Aaron Gordon. They've had different guys. They have Pablo Blanchero, right? He came out. He was number 1 last year. So
he was just in the news that he's going to play for the U.S. instead of Italy when
the world was it the Olympics
when the Olympics
declared
comes around. Yeah.
Okay. Because he's half and half would be my guess.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay, but no, okay, Orlando, this is where you guys got to get it right, okay? Like, if you're building a young team, sometimes culture will overthrow talent. It sucks. You look at rosters and you're like, why didn't this work? Because for some reason, since the Penny Shack era, let's be honest, dude, since the mid-90s,
it's been rough for Orlando fans.
The Magic have been bad. But, I mean, parity. Let's go into the NBA with some parity. So, let's get into the trades, right?
All right, dude. There's juicy.
There's been some good ones. Some good ones and some bad ones, especially for a Warriors fan, man.
I'm saying
let's
that
hold
for
on
last.
that one. Let's hold on that one, yeah, for sure. Because the first one we got to touch on is probably the Boston, Memphis,
Washington
trade. Yes, the 3-team trade. There's picks involved, but give us the player breakdown.
Okay, so the Wizards trade Porzingis to Boston.
Okay.
Wizards get the 35th pick in the draft. Boston also trades Smart to the Grizzlies.
That's huge. That one's bigger.
That cost a 2023 and 2024 first round pick to get him.
That's quite a return.
Memphis gets the guard Tyus Jones.
Tyus, yep. Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of other little pieces. Jordan Goodwin and Isaiah Todd are all. Oh wait, no, let's go to the Suns. God, that's the next trade.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm getting ahead of myself there. But I mean, that's the first
Porzingis. Okay,
kind of big pick. The Wizards also got a forward Danilo Gallinari and center Mike.
Gallinari is still in the league.
Yeah, those were kind of the extra pieces.
Wow, sure, that's gotta make it work salary wise or whatever. Sure,
that's what those guys.
No, so basically the big one is Porzingis to Boston, Smart to and then Tyus Jones to the Washington. I want to call them the Bullets. I know they're the Wizards. I like the Bullets way better for a name.
If it wasn't for being, we know why the name changed.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that's a good trade for all 3 teams, really. Though
it is, except
the
for
fit for Porzingis. I like Smart, kind of pairing with Ja,
right,
for the Grizzlies. Tyus Jones, I don't know too much about, but I figure that
he's a great point guard. He really is. He's gonna go.
I thought the second or the. God, I forget what they said.
He stepped up. He actually had a better season than
guard.
Ja. Yeah, he had a better season than Ja this last year statistically, actually. Points, rebounds, minutes, we've talked about Ja several times. Get your ass clean. Not clean, but, just stop recording yourself doing stupid shit.
Stop acting hard and just...
play ball, bro!
Be the guy you should be.
Play ball. You have the best jump I've ever seen in my life. You could be an Olympian. Just go do long jumping. I mean, if you only want to do something once every 4 years or whatever, dude, you're naturally gifted in so many fucking ways, man. That's one of those frustrating things in sports, right? When you see somebody who is just dude, You have the world in front of you. You have all the ability. You have...
And you're just not using your head.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Like, he's missed out on millions of dollars.
Has to be.
Because of some of the decisions he's made. He's just not thinking.
Had he been Kirk Cousins with his athleticism, oh my God, dude, come on. Like, we're talking, just be better for yourself, be better for the league, be better for the kids, be better. But Tyus Jones is going to come in and, he's coming to Washington. But honestly, so the Wizards have tore it down. They traded Beal.
Yes, we're going to get into straight rebuild mode.
Right. We're going to get into another trade that involves another Wizard in Beal.
That's where it started, was them dealing Beal to the Suns for Chris Paul. There was like some small pieces there too. Again, the Jordan Goodwin and the Isaiah Todd were traded to the Suns of that trade.
Sure.
And
they need
the Suns also got Landry Shampet.
Okay.
And then they traded 5 second-round future picks to the Wizards, and they're also 4 future pick swaps as well, from what I read. And the Pacers also got in on that, and there's a second-round future pick swap.
What is it?
There was a lot of picks traded. I don't know what that means right now.
Right? Come on.
It's a lot.
That's that shit. Your bookkeepers better be tight, bro. Because I didn't even know what I was hearing right there. That's ridiculous. And that was 9 future picks?
Yeah.
9 future... Dude, all right.
That's a lot.
There was... How do you even quantify that? How do you, like...
There was plenty of trades, like, during the draft, too, for just picks for picks.
That just seems bananas. Picks for picks makes sense when you have more than 2 rounds. Picks for picks doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you only have 2 fucking rounds.
Yeah, man.
That's another reason why the NBA, your smaller team, that's why the draft isn't as epic as every other draft is massive in scope versus the NBA.
But let's run it back though. Like, what do you think Bradley Beal does for Phoenix?
No, I don't. I think okay. You know what I saw though? Between those 4, Ayton, Beal, Durant, and Booker, they're already over their cap. They're already over the cap.
Yeah,
significantly.
I would assume they're still trying. They're probably
going
to take a loss on Ayton. I think you're going to have to move him for the cheap just to get rid of that salary, just so they can afford to bring in some better talent or to fill out that roster.
He would be the expendable piece out of the 4. You just brought Beal in. You're not getting rid of Booker, and you're not getting rid of Durant.
Yeah, you gave up. I mean, Booker they drafted, but they brought in they traded all that away for Durant. So that's definitely the pair.
Set
and
then
Beal is kind of just the happenstance of being available for the cheap. Just that salary is the issue. That's the only thing there.
So I mean, like Phoenix. Fahonix, too narrow-sighted, I would say, man. You're because another topic that I kind of heard over Sports Talk Radio this week, as it was light on major, was like, does the super team work? Does it? Little sidebar. This is our sidebar.
There's only really 2 examples that come to mind of it working. I don't include the KG to the Warriors because he was a free agent.
Yeah, I thought you said KG. I thought you were talking about
that. KG was
the Boston,
first,
the triple.
That was the first triple
that they really
super team. Really,
Paul Pierce, Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett,
and then after
they only got 1 together. But yeah,
right. And then after that, it was LeBron, and how much
you put on that
Bosh. LeBron?
And that was stud LeBron. That was MVP LeBron.
After that, there's been other attempts, but no real successes.
Because super team in the sense that was like, even though to be fair, LeBron went there in free agency. He didn't bust his way out in a trade. He just didn't re-sign with Cleveland. And like Chris Bosh technically left in free agency as well. It was just Dwayne. It was just the buddy system, right?
Yeah, it's the construction of 3 superstars, and those are the examples of its success. But there are other examples of its failure, of course. You just look to
Oh my
Boston
God,
or Brooklyn
dude.
lately.
No, yeah, Brooklyn
That was so
and like
bad.
the Lakers. Oh my God, when they were trying to bring Melo in and they're trying to drink Rondo and these all like they knew that they were old and just not. They just LeBron wanted to you go on a run with these boys, right? So that was the super team aspect. They traditionally talent doesn't make or names don't make a team, especially when you're getting up there in age. Like you gotta have a balance of hungry young boys and guys from the top teaching them down. Like you can't just have motherfuckers chasing a ring.
Well,
that's never gonna work.
Yeah, it really doesn't. I mean, you see success with the teams more so that have built from the draft, really. I mean, we just had the Nuggets,
especially in the NBA.
Murray, Jokic, both drafted to the Nuggets.
Oh yeah, Porter Jr. was as well. Yeah, no,
I mean,
I would say Aaron Gordon, who was their fourth piece, or was the only one that was really traded for.
Year before that, it was the Warriors. We know how they were built through the draft. The year before that, it was the Bucks. They were built through the draft.
100%.
So that seems to be the more the route for success as far as what's happened lately in the NBA, and it's probably the route that's more successful if you hit in the draft for sure. But it's
always hard to hit in the draft.
Yeah.
It's always a crapshoot, like prospect. And one thing is. It does suck for the casual fan. Another thing, I guess we're going to shit on the NBA draft a little bit more, is that you don't see no combine, you don't hear about these prospects. It's like the season is, the playoffs are going on when they do all of this kind of stuff. And then the playoffs ended and they had the draft like 8 days later, dude. There's not even enough build up. You just can't. Next week, welcome to the NBA draft. These guys you're going to see next year. Like, dude, we barely just finished processing this year. Let's talk about this year. It just wrapped up. And you're like, well, these guys. That's another thing, NBA. You gotta build. We all know there's going to be a draft every year, but 8 days after the end of the finals is too quick, right?
Yeah,
too quick.
It is, but also, I think that's kind of, it goes hand in hand with just the college product that kind of diminishes the build-up for the drafts as it is now, and I don't know if that's going to change.
Meaning, there's not enough there's not still once again enough people that that are going to go at the top. So
there really isn't as many college stars. The last big college star was probably Zion, right? So other than that,
well, no. Who went number one overall that I was like, holy shit? Anthony Edwards. In Minnesota. It's a bad motherfucker down there, dude. Minnesota. We've touched on this before, but that's a prime example of taking a swing, Minnesota. You might not get it right, but you're fucking trying.
And that's really all you can ask.
That's all you can ask for. NBA, though, get your draft back. I don't know. What can the NBA do to make it better? Make college longer? Make players more relatable? I don't know, man. The NBA draft has just been kind of...
Well, yeah, I think they're in a tough spot. It's not the same as football. It does make more sense because you do have those products that are ready to play out of high school. LeBron, Kobe, and they should be allowed to. And that diminishes the college game, which makes, of course, the draft less interesting because you don't have those guys.
You're not gonna watch no high school ball, right?
Yeah,
but that's not relevant either. You got 1 year removed is all you have to do. You just got to go 1 year removed from high school to be eligible for the NBA draft,
right? And it's just not enough time. I mean, you can have a fantastic season.
I don't think they'll ever change that.
You can't really. Without being able to build off of that, it just kind of diminishes the product overall.
Bummer. Well, NBA, you're never gonna be able to turn that back, I guess, because you're right. If you look at the guys, in the late '80s and early '90s that came out, they all played 3, 4, 5 years at their schools. Everybody knew they were waiting for these guys to come to the NBA. Versus it's you get there and you're like, who the fuck is this? Now sometimes they light the NBA up. Don't get me wrong, and it's not to say that they're not great ball players, but it is, the intrigue has been remiss from that. There's no Jordan. There's no like, oh man, this guy's coming out this year, right? Well, Wemby was he coming out of though? Professional basketball already in France?
Yeah.
He's just massive.
Playing with adults at 16.
7'4".
Yeah.
8 foot wingspan. I can barely even reach out of the screen here. 8 foot wingspan. That guy's got an 8 foot wingspan.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah, it was just ridiculous that they were saying that he can cover both the post and the 3 line. He's like one of the few players that has ability to do that.
To do so. Yeah, sure. No, he
is definitely that kind of Jokic kind of unicorn that if he stays healthy and maybe gets a little tougher, he's such a force in the game. The NBA could be
better with him,
yes.
Sure, especially in San Antonio. Let's be fair. Maybe give Pop one more ride, keep him around for another year or two. Homeboy's getting up there. But dude, okay, as a Warriors fan, right? We're on to
let's
trade,
round
right?
out the final big trade in the NBA.
Is CP3
Chris Paul
to
for Jordan
Warriors.
Poole for not just Jordan Poole, they also got the 2030 first round pick.
Right. 2030?
Yes, 2027 second round pick. So these are way out there.
The NBA's allowed to trade that far out?
Yes.
Okay, well,
it's a little crazy.
Bless the NFL then for saying it's a 3-year is the furthest you can go. And even that doesn't happen often. It's normally 2 years deep. Normally the NFL will not go that far,
Right.
Just 2030.
Okay.
2030. How do we even keep track of that? Who's keeping track?
It's got to be tough.
Keeping track of that?
I got a whole lot to say on this.
Let's
trade,
go.
though.
Let's hear the Warriors fan perspective.
Okay. Draymond opted out of his contract
because of that
technically
trade, right?
He's a free agent.
Ooh, this is big. Yes, let's go. This is good.
Again, I'm in the camp that I'm ready to move on from Draymond.
Right.
I believe that out of him, Clay and Steph, the big 3 for the Warriors, the guys that are the oldest on the team, that his game will age the worst. And because of that,
shooters never die.
Yeah, I see him kind of falling more into his personality. I don't know. I just feel
I don't
like
his personality. So.
I feel like with his game not aging well, that he's gonna commit more costly fouls because he's gonna get.
Well, he's been doing that forever
in the bad
already.
spots, but
he's
now
already.
I feel it's gonna get worse, and that's why I do not want to re-sign him, even though I believe we are going to.
Even
and
though
we're going to spend more money than we probably should to do so, because I think other teams will make him some offers.
You think so?
I think so. Like,
no.
I started to think about it, and there are teams that could use him. Like, if they could make it work, like the Mavericks could definitely use somebody on defense. They don't have defense. They're not playing defense in Dallas.
Anywhere in Dallas, no. Not in the greater state of Texas.
Yeah, the Pistons would be interesting because they don't really have a strong forward player, and he could kind of help shape their young roster.
I feel like the Pistons. That's another team that doesn't make sense. In the last 7 years, they've drafted high pretty much, and they've never been able to put it together.
And now with Monty Williams, they're like,
maybe it's the coach. Maybe it's been the coaching culture. All right,
the culture to get better. So we'll see. But I mean, I feel like there'll be higher offers, and I really hope the Warriors don't match. But I feel like it's inevitable. Inevitable. Yes,
it's inevitable.
What he said.
No, I think that Draymond opted out. I think that the Warriors need this because they're gonna save a big old bag, and you're gonna
again. I think it comes to like the whole thing of making a tough decision. Of course, he's been an integral part in the championships that they've won. But I think they're leaning too heavy on what he has done instead of what he's going to do. And that's going to lead us to a road that's going to get more difficult.
It's the Patriot way of thinking, where get rid of him a year earlier rather than a year too late.
That's where
100%.
I am. No, but I feel like, of course, they're going to bring him back. He's going to be a great pairing with. I'm sure him and Chris Paul will get along just great. The fouls, the bad. Like, oh my gosh, it's. I cringe a little bit
Facepalm.
because of I've never liked Chris Paul.
Makes two of us
I
on
think
this pod.
yeah.
I've never defended Chris
I think
Paul.
he's a dirty player. I do.
I just
And him and Draymond would just be like two pairs.
Aside from that, no, I just
Two peas in a pod,
I think
dude.
Chris Paul is just not on the level that people think he is.
I've talked about this earlier. This is what the Warriors need: an old, short player that doesn't play defense. No. I'm sorry to yell. Ugh.
You're not
Like,
sorry to yell. It just shouldn't attract a lot. No, you're not wrong.
We needed length in defense, and we drafted someone to run the second team. I mean, not drafted, but traded for someone to run the second team offense. I mean, sure, that will help, but... And his Okay.
We're backing up.
Saw.
This is all happening live,
saw,
y'all. So,
like,
yeah, let's go.
I understand the trade. The trade was made to move off the bad contract that was Poole. And we got a piece in Paul that could be a trade asset. I don't think we're going to use it as such. And again, the fit, another small old guy to play with the other old guys. Great. I'm sure he's... And they talk about using him in the starting lineup. Like, we're going to run him, Curry, and Thompson and be really small. That's... Oh my God. No. If I don't see the Warriors having success going that route.
I was just... Man, okay, like, it was one of those trades where it's baffling. Like, Wizards, it actually does make sense here. Like, getting Poole, getting these assets, like...
He's a young player.
Yeah, he can come over here, brand new locker room, absolutely.
I bet he plays better than he did last year for the Wizards.
This is a great trade for the Wizards overall. You dump CP3, who did have a big price tag to begin with. You do pick up a big... That's why it worked, is because the salaries are similar. Like, they're both overpaid.
Oh, no,
but
both.
The ceiling on Poole is significantly higher than CP3 right now. There's no denying that. Like,
well, and yeah, that's why I believe the trade was made, because of the new CBA. Like, the way that the cap is gonna work, it was just too much with Poole. We had to get rid of his contract, and Chris Paul's
and Draymond's.
We could work around it.
I mean, you're letting Draymond go.
I'd love to think that.
But it's been put on public record that he doesn't want to be there. What's going to make him resign?
Because of...
No other team's going to...
No, I think other teams will offer him because of the success that he's had, and I think the Warriors are going to try to match if they are close to match.
If I'm a GM, I'm sitting down and I'm looking at the one season where Curry and Clay were out together and Draymond was supposed to be anywhere near the dude, and he was pathetic as the one. Draymond, you are a piece. You are not the guy. You got a loud mouth. You can play some great defense. You can rebound. You can pass. You can facilitate. I get that. You're not a scorer. You're not. You cannot create your own shot. Like, you're not overly athletic. You're not tall.
Sure.
You're not going to get the bag in today's NBA, bro. You shot off your foot on this is your opportunity. You should stay. And you should stay in Golden State. You should have opted in. I don't give a shit how much you don't like Chris Paul. You're going to find a cold market. I will put that out there. Cold market for Draymond. I'm on the exact opposite. I don't think any team's going to offer him shit. No, he's gonna take a bottom feeder veteran fucking salary. He's not getting a bag. No,
I mean, I
really don't think so.
For the defense alone, that wouldn't be a bad contract if he would, but I don't think that's the case. I think the Warriors are gonna overpay for him, and again, Draymond, he doesn't get all the credit that he probably deserves for what he does for the Warriors, but there's that side of him again that we all know is there that...
I don't think he's that great of a player, and then he's a shithead on top of it. Mm-hmm. But this is also coming from a guy who, championed Richard Sherman, while, granted, historically he was fantastic, but,
I could see the correlation, though. He's that player that is on your team, Yeah, I mean, you'll deal with him, but when he's on the opposite team, you fucking hate him.
I don't think anywhere else Draymond goes it works. I don't give a shit what roster you put him on. I don't think he's that great. I have always been a detractor of Draymond Green, and I will continue to be so.
I feel like he's going back to the Warriors. I just hope it's not for a long contract at a high price, because he's not worth it. It is not the way to go. I know everyone's kind of holding on to that past success, but it's time. The Warriors need to find a new forward that can replace him. He doesn't have to be a star. Again, the way this has played out, even the past championship, Draymond wasn't the number 2 guy on the Warriors. Of course, Curry tops the list. Wiggins took over that 2 spot in the last championship with his play
over Thompson.
Defense. Yeah, Thompson's play has regressed. It has regressed. I'm sorry, since his injury, and I like him, but his contract, that's another issue for next season. Like, we might even move off of him this season, depending on how we're gonna work around the cap. And he could be a casualty. Draymond, I think, should be, but all the talk is to bring him back. Everyone thinks that he's going to be successful if the Warriors bring him back, that they'll be successful with him. And I think it's very short-sighted.
The success with him has been quite documented. I mean, he's been there during all the chips, but I think
it's again short-sighted.
Unless you're gonna sign and trade, you got to get something for him, or you let him walk. You can't bring him back on some sort of deal that cripples your cap. You can't do that. You have to find a way to. If you just okay, Trev. Honestly, man, like, if Draymond leaves, are the Warriors worse?
Yes, they are worse. Okay. But I think again, that's you're short-sighted in trying to sign him. Like, you'll be better for next season. Going forward, no. I think you move off of Draymond to take a step back next season, but to progress, to maybe give Steph another window. The way that it's going, I don't think you're going to get another window with this squad.
Okay.
Unless you make those changes.
Has to happen.
Yes.
Yeah. No, and you got to find a way to save some fucking money too, man. Like, I get the dealing a pool. I don't understand. The CP3 thing is stupid. It really is. Like, it's gonna be okay because Kerr's a great coach and he's gonna be able to. Okay. CP3 will come in and be a professional. Will it work? Yes. Even with all the bullshit that, they show the little cuts of, him hitting the shimmy against Curry in the playoffs, or like him bullshitting with Curry and then walking away like, murr. Like, all that's going to go away, okay? They're going to be professionals, but like, that's 1 year. That's 2 years.
As I see it, like, there's no overtaking.
There's no future right now. You're getting older, which is weird. Because you guys were known for drafting well. But
Kuminga, he's still on the team.
Sure.
There's chatter of him and Paul being a package to try and bring in something else. But I'd rather see more Kuminga and move off of Draymond.
So I think
instead, I think we're going to bring in Draymond, so then that's going to diminish Kuminga again. And it's just going to be like, oh, well, we'll see. Maybe next year, if everything hits right, then we'll have a chance. That's what we're playing. It's not good odds.
Not good odds, Warriors. But outside of that, we got a couple of free agents that are going to clog up the market too, right?
Yes. Chris Middleton also opted out.
That's a big.
He didn't opt in, I guess.
That's opting out, essentially. Which is strange.
Yeah,
right?
I thought he would have opted in. I really did.
I agree too.
It made a lot of sense, I thought, for him too.
He must. Well, I think that every player values themselves over the market, but I once again think that he's going to be humbled pretty quick. He's a good player, but I don't think he's going to find what he wants to find.
Yeah, I think he still falls behind Irvin, Harden, and Van Vliet on the list of free agents.
Those are really good names.
Those aren't. Those guys. Yeah.
Yeah, no, they're all out there. No, so Irving is, God damn it, he's one of the most frustrating guys to speak about in the NBA because when his talent when he is on, he is great to watch. Fuck, he's so much fun. He can shoot, he can dribble, he can pass, he can space the floor, he can drive. Kyrie is good, but he's so annoying, man. Fuck, dude, he doesn't give you that Kyrie all the time, right? And then other times he's Brickzilla, and then he complains about it, and then he fucking pisses and moans about. Like, Kyrie, I want to love you, dude. Your game, when it is on, is some of my favorite game in the NBA, but it's not. It's only there 30% of the time.
Yeah,
40% of the time at best. Like,
great on the floor talent, not someone.
Sometimes
good for your
he's even
locker room.
cold on the. But when he clicks, man, he's so fun to watch. Like, honestly, I would put him in ahead of some of the other athletes right now. Like, if he could consistently do so, I would be so weary of Kyrie. Same with James Harden. Like, the rumor mill is that he's going back to Houston anyway, right? That's almost set in stone as far as, like, Morey's still there. Or not Morey's he's in Philly, I'm sorry. But he's going to go back to Houston, right? That's the word.
That's the rumor. I mean, I think more of the talk is around Van Vliet, actually. Like,
where is he going to go? What is that talk?
Well, I mean, there's talk, of course. I mean, Lakers are always brought up when it comes to trades, and Zach has brought it up as he would like him to be in that team.
Very much so.
But
especially now that CP3 has been settled.
If Milwaukee doesn't have Chris Middleton, he fits there. He can fit in a lot of places, I feel like. He probably has the most teams I would think probably inquiring about him.
Which is funny because we've mentioned several times that the game's going towards bigger men. And Van Vliet is not that.
No.
He is a shifty, small. He's heady. He can shoot pretty well, and he can pass pretty well. But he can run your floor. He is a true PG for sure.
Yes.
True PG. Like, I think more contracts will come Van Vliet's way than Draymond's way for sure.
Oh, yes.
For sure.
The other free agent that we we brought up last, I think, episode, but we weren't sure that he was a free agent, was Russell Westbrook. Actually is
a unrestricted free agent, which, man, I've had such a roller coaster feeling about that guy amongst his career, and he can play basketball, that man. And also, okay, this is what I will say about Russell Westbrook. Hungry. The man plays with a sense of urgency everywhere he goes. He had a bad time in LA, and that kind of dampers a lot of his momentum going anywhere, right? But
he picked it up with the Clippers.
Sure.
It was bad for the Lakers, for sure.
He's a fighter, man. He wants it. And, like, you always want guys in your locker room that are hungry, even if they're older. Like, he's still going to push that. Like, let's fucking go, guys. It's not Ja. He's not Zion. He's not Kyrie. Like, ball is the most important thing to Russell Westbrook. He loved winning that MVP. He wants to win a chip. Like,
yeah.
You want a guy like that. You do.
Yes.
Like, he's got to be in the right system, though, because he cannot necessarily create a shot off the ball. Like, he's an on-ball dominant player. He's a volume player. He's got to shoot a lot of shots. So there's a give and a take with him. But he plays good defense, and he rebounds, and he can pass well. Like, there is good parts of his game, too.
For sure. And he really needs to capitalize on that. Like, his game is also a game that doesn't age well because it's based off his athleticism.
Sure.
And if he can adapt and be the guy that doesn't have to shoot and can do those other things, kind of like a Draymond Green,
right,
then that's where his value will grow.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all.
Yeah, it's just I kind of feel like the Clippers are going to try and re-sign him.
They should.
Since
they should.
They didn't make any other moves.
Well,
really.
They didn't get to see him with PG, and they didn't get to see him with Kawhi. Like, they didn't get to see what could really be an LA kind of thing. Hey, Kawhi's the Clippers. Oh man, that's another long tangent. Is the Clippers? I think are done. Really, like they need to.
That window is closing quick.
I think it's closed.
It's closed.
I think it's closed. I think it's locked. I think it's like.
I mean,
I love Kawhi, dude. As far as like what he brought to the NBA when he was like great ambassador, yeah, great player. Sorry. Like, I think that Kawhi was awesome in the Spurs thought. He was great in Toronto. Like, you know, it bums me out that's what's happened to him and PG never lived up to his top billing. Like, he has all the talent in the world and never got past what I think the second round. I don't think he ever played in a conference final.
I don't think so either.
Maybe one, but like PG never got. He was a superstar at certain parts of his career, but he never got over the hump. And like, I think that LA team, unfortunately, just. This is where the love for the names needs to get thrown out, and you just got to understand that you got to get rid of Cap and you got to get younger. And you might eat some years, but it ain't where it's at now for the Clippers.
Yeah,
so,
and you know that the owner wants to compete, and you feel like you can.
Ballmer's got more than enough money to just
healthy, but that's such a big question mark.
There's no way he comes into that locker room, right? You think you bring him in there? I mean, technically you could. You could. I don't know. That one doesn't logistically make a lot of sense to me. Where does Kyrie go? Now, I want to hear from you guys. Where do you think Kyrie's going to go? Because that is probably the biggest question mark in free agency for me.
I mean, Dallas doesn't offer him the most. Of course, all the speculation.
Well, they're allowed to, technically, right?
Lakers,
or like
him showing up at the playoff games and everything. So, I mean, if
I
anyone
thought,
can keep him in line, maybe
the
it's
Laker
LeBron.
boat had sailed, though, is what I had heard. Is that?
I mean, they would have to retool. They'd have to move a lot of pieces around and then get rid of guys I don't think they want to get rid of. So I don't know how much sense that really makes.
Sure, no, but he is a free agent, so if they want to pay, who else are they paying outside of LeBron, though?
80.
Okay, yeah. Well, still, okay. The Suns are got to cut Ayton, right?
Yeah.
That's the main part of this. They're over the cap.
Well, and then I did have a small note, too, just
small
with
note.
The Knicks extend Josh Hart.
Okay.
And they don't pick
Good
up
move.
Rose's option.
Right, I saw that.
I could see Rose being kind of a chasing for that championship, possibly. I don't know if he'd take a small contract in Phoenix.
Well, yeah,
or
it's not a bad role.
A team like that, at least.
He would.
That's competing.
He would have to. He would have
at this
to.
point.
I agree with that. I think that's an easy conversation for D Rose at this point. You got your MVP. We all know that it's unfortunate your knees, that athleticism
that
was
athleticism
insane.
has been lost. And
Yeah.
that was his game.
Yeah. It's known. It's known in the NBA. But nobody would hate if you got on a legacy team to try to make a push, bro. Go for it, D Rose.
The other last thing with the NBA, it was just the Wolves re-signed center Naz Reid, I think for $42 million.
3 year, $42 million. That's a grip
nice.
for a guy that I can't necessarily reference his game to. What does that mean though for like if they're giving that money to what does that mean for Cat? What does that mean is that team Gobert? Like I don't understand where do they have that money from though? Like.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'd have to look, but yeah, it feels like they're gonna have to deal with
some
a lot
luxury of big men there. Though, right? Like shit.
Yeah, 3 big guys right there. You just listed off
that are all commanding large can-do salaries. Yeah, like and Minnesota, y'all didn't make it past the second round this year. Fuck, man. Like we talked about it. Swinging is good, but not at an expensive cost. So the NBA, man. All right.
That pretty much rounds it out. We're going to take a break, get some refills, and come back with our common sense and fandom.
As always, man, our favorite section, you guys. We're going to come back with a fandom. It's going to be strong.
I cheers, but I'm all out.
We're all out. We drank the Avid Cider. It was really good. Ben, stay good.
We'll be back.
Balls&Brews. Welcome back, everybody. Pod 15. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and give another cheers. This is a little retread from last week. We had an extra one, so,
Yeah, buddy. All right. Let's get into our common sense. And the name that's been popping this week, Bob Huggins. Man.
Dude, legendary basketball coach out in West Virginia.
Had the most wins among active coaches at 935.
And right. Once again, so we're not talking about 1, 2, 3, 4. We're talking decades.
Yeah. And that's why West Virginia gave him the runway, because he had that incident where he was fined and suspended for the anti-gay slur that he had over
That was a while ago. Yeah, I remember that.
But then after the DUI that he got arrested for, that was it. They
Got to
made
set
him
an example
resign.
kind of thing, right? Like, Bob Huggins, once again, okay, like, everything, there are so many ride-sharing things that
I
don't
heard
drive.
they had a ride service for him.
Okay.
If he wanted to use it, if he was
I
going
didn't
to be
hear this,
drinking.
right? And he still didn't.
Yeah, no. Yeah, no.
Oh my God, if that isn't common sense.
And
That's the definition.
how are you going to lead a bunch of guys and tell them what to do if you're not going to,
You can't,
paint
if you can't practice what you preach.
Yeah, you got to practice what you preach. You can't do that to the university and then say, you got to do this for the university.
Wow.
Come on.
Wow. That's so blatant it hurts, you guys. We almost don't even need to talk about how stupid that is. Like, I mean, why? The question remains, and why, if you have enough money to pay somebody to drive you anywhere, would you ever drive loaded? Like,
you even have that service provided for you, and
that's the craziest part of this story. I mean,
I'm good. I'm gonna fuck it up.
I'm sorry, I'm at a loss for words because, like, okay, look,
He was just. I don't
We've
know.
all
Maybe he's set in his ways.
We've all made bad decisions.
Sure.
We've all been young. We've all drank a little too much.
This guy's young.
No, you have so much, once again, on your plate in front of you. Like, how are you not aware of that? The service is sit your ass in the seat and we will drive you anywhere you want to go.
Exactly.
No common sense, man. None. That is as blatant as it gets, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to beat a dead horse. Bob Huggins, do fucking better, man. Especially for a program that is proud and that you are a basketball school.
They wanted you there, and it's just
lame,
inexcusable.
Lame to hear about, dude.
As a fallout, they have Josh Elert as an interim after Bob Huggins' resignation, and they also lose two highly regarded prospects in the transfer
why
portal.
wouldn't they? Because who the fuck's gonna coach them?
Kerr Krista and Trey Mitchell
Said peace. Said peace. Like, wow, that's where
That
transfer
hurts the
portal.
program.
Sure, of course, on multiple levels. That's where the transfer portal, I think, does do good. Like, those kids shouldn't have to stay.
They should have the choice.
They should have the ability before they've never played for West Virginia, so what they had the idea of what they thought West Virginia was. Bob Huggins just shit on that.
Yeah,
God.
he was that vision, and he
No common sense.
threw it up.
Man, that one hurts. That one's, once again, that big thumbs down for that.
Yeah. Let's get into our fandom.
Dude, the fandom, right? Like, this is our favorite section. So I hope you guys have taken notice over this little bit that I've been wearing my Tough Mudder shirt. It's one of 4 that I own. My fandom plays into what I kind of highlighted here in my notes as amateur athleticism, or like, I love that there's organizations that put on events that, like, you have to train for. Like, you don't, I guess a Tough Mudder you can do in any condition. That's also kind of the best part. Like, it's about mental and physical capacity. What can your body handle, right? And, like,
Sure.
I love that there's an outlet for myself or, like, people who feel like we never made it to the tippy top of, competitiveness, obviously. I never played any divisional college ball in any nature or anything like that, but I've always loved sports and athletics, and I think that events like Tough Mudder, another one that I've written down that I did just recently was Spartan. Like, these events are great. There's so many different mud runs now, or 5Ks, or things that you have to train for that...
Sure.
As an amateur, or as just somebody that can look forward to, this is your goal. And I think that having goals on a level of that nature is kind of important. I think that it can push somebody to be a better version of themselves, even if it's just a 5K or it's just a walk run or whatever. Like, I love the idea that, like, you don't have to just settle for, well, I can't do this. The fuck you can. You can go out and run a Tough Mudder. You can train. You can work your ass off, and you can go and do something that matters to you. And that's a fandom for me because I try to push myself. I love beer. And I sit here and I drink with Trev and I drink with Zach, and I will never say that, you know, there aren't extracurriculars that we got to drink now because we cheers.
Yes. Respect on that, though.
I think that there's a way for amateurs, that I just mean literally anybody who's not a professional, can push themselves, man. I think that I really do have a heart towards that. I love fitness. I love the idea of bettering yourself, and physical is one of those things where it ties into mental, of course, but like your mental will break down before your physical does. I will tell you that every time. How strong is your mental? Because your body's stronger than you think it is. It always is. You can mentally push yourself through so fucking much. Like, and I it's one of the reasons why I wear this brand with, you know, pride, is that like it's an accomplishment, you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I compare stuff like that, like, to marathon runners and stuff. Like, it's an event for people to come out and to really prove something to themselves.
That's what it is. That, Trevor, if there's any one thing that I could have anybody take away from that, it's proving it to yourself. It's not about proving it to others. It's about what you are capable of, and I love that feeling. Like, it's so hard sometimes to get over these mental and physical hurdles, and like when you run a Mudder in particular, the camaraderie and the want to be, you know, successful for everybody is there. Like it's an everybody event as well as it's a personal event. And tell me, accomplishing specifically something that you're like, there's no fucking way I will ever do this, and then you get it done and you're like, God damn, that feels good, right?
Yeah, it makes you feel proud. You have other
Big
people
time.
there that are in that same headspace, so they're pulling for you. They're like, "Come on,
sure." There's
we're,
high
we're
fives.
here
and love
together.
everywhere.
Like, let's
Exactly.
do this."
It's such a good feeling, you guys. And like, all right, so Tough Mudder, if you're gonna run your first one, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. You're gonna get electrocuted. It's tough. Like the end obstacle is electroshock therapy. They're not gonna let you go around it unless you have obviously pacemaker or heart issues or something like that. But if you're healthy, you're running through them. But God damn it, you guys, it's a feeling. It's something that I've never been able to find other than another fandom of mine would be like live music, concerts, something of that nature, that adrenaline, that live rush that you get. But like as far as athletics, I appreciate the you know, awareness of, you know, not everybody's going to be professional, but people want to compete, man. People are hungry. They have drive. So, like,
Competition is important.
It is. It really is. It's not to say that, you know,
And that's where it goes. It's all aspects of life. It's not just...
Exactly. But just because you're not number one as well doesn't mean that finishing isn't a big deal. Always remember that you and where you can put yourself matter. Like, it doesn't...
Yeah, you strive for your personal best.
Be the best you.
Yes,
there you go. That's more or less what I'm trying to say. I kind of rambled around that point, but be the best version of yourself. You're not going to be an Olympian or a fucking Division I athlete every time, but you can strive to be the best version of you. So that's my fandom for sure, Money. Thank you for helping me wrap that up.
Yeah, that's good. Mine, I'm going to bring it back to basketball. Basketball's been all the news this week.
Just talk, sure.
Yeah.
Over the last couple of weeks.
And my particular fandom is just kind of the state of the NBA in America. I just feel that it's kind of obvious, just looking at it at this point, that when you look around the NBA, the top players in the league are all international. We're talking Giannis. We're talking the Joker. We're talking Doncic. Wemby just coming into the league. Embiid, like these guys are at the top of the sport right now.
Absolutely.
LeBron is passing that torch, and it's not going to an American player. It's going to international at this point. I just, thinking about it, I kind of came to load management, I think, plays a part of it. like.
Well,
There's been such an emphasis on load management, and I believe more players with load management are getting injured than the previous generation that didn't have it. I feel like they're not prepared enough for this long NBA season.
Well, here's the take: is that the international crowd lets their kids technically play professional, yes. Whereas
they're competing with adults.
We tried to do the college route, and then we wrote in you only got to go for 1 year. So if that's the pipeline, like, we don't have time to get to know these players. Whereas the international game, you get to learn players in their 15, 16, 17 years old.
I agree. I think the international game is set up better in NBA international sport.
I don't think it's
other countries are doing it better.
Unfortunately, I don't think you can argue it at this point, because there's no value in going back to college anymore unless you're like a bubble guy and you're like, well, he's got hype butt kind of thing, right?
And, I mean, I think some of that just comes with the American culture. Like, I question the dedication with some of the American players. Like, when you're a top talent and you're rewarded early on, I feel that maybe some of that dedication is lacking to be that guy. Like, I don't feel we have a bunch. There's Tatum, there's Ja. There are guys that could be that torch bearer, but just haven't taken that next step where these international guys have.
Because they're more about ball. They're more about, like, and it comes around, like, kids have taken to them, like, once again.
Well, that's kind of the personality too of the players that I look for. Like, I reference the Miami Heat as being a team that doesn't have a lot of superstars. They have guys that were in college for 4 years or were undrafted. These guys are more hungry than the guys that are just given everything. And the guys that are given everything are just too comfortable with accepting that instead of being the best version of themselves. The guys like Zion, where you feel like if they had the motivation that some of these international guys have, they could be that guy for the NBA, but they just don't, because
there's three
it's
guys.
Just too easy for them.
There's 3 guys on that exact Duke team: Cam Reddish, Zion Williamson, and who is the third guy? R.J. Barrett.
R.J. Barrett, yeah.
Yeah, they were all at one point considered potential number 1 overall draft picks. Obviously, Zion took that honor that year. The other 2 also went top 10 and haven't done nothing to middle in the fucking NBA. Like, even the guys that come in, what I'm trying to say is, like, if you're giving it too quick without the proven, it normally falls flat. That's why they tried to get away from the 18-year-olds coming in and not knowing nothing about the professional game. But college, we got to find a way to funnel the American market better into the NBA at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, there are those guys, those
freaks, if you will.
Michael Jordans, those Kobe Bryants.
Well, no, Michael Jordan went to UNC.
Sure, I'm saying just that have that drive.
Oh, the killer mentality.
The killer mentality
sure.
to be the best NBA player they can be, and they're not taking any days off. Those are guys that are they're always trying to improve.
No days
off. No days off. And
not working.
There's not very many of those guys. And you need, I think, that mentality to be the top of the sport, which these guys that have the talent in the United States have that opportunity to be, but they just aren't going that route. They get their money and
they get their butt wiped.
And they're praised.
They get their butt wiped from the time that they're 18 onward, and like the European guys got to come in saying, "Well, I played 3 years professionally against a a bunch of guys." Like,
and now is the time. LeBron, This is
clearly the downslope.
He's starting the decline.
Starting. He's been on the decline. To be fair, even that bubble championship has been called into question since.
True.
But,
I mean, he's still been great, but as far as the guy that's the face of the NBA, he's been it.
Okay, fair enough.
And there hasn't been. He's ready to pass it off, but no one's grabbing it besides these international guys. They're the ones that are grabbing it.
Give it to Giannis.
Yes.
Give it to Giannis. Give it to Giannis.
Where's the American guy that's grabbing it?
No, there's not. That's what we talked about. Tatum was trying to be.
Tatum and Ja, they're the closest thing, but they're missing a step.
Well, Ja's missing a lot of things.
Okay, maybe a couple steps.
At least Tatum it's all on court. You know, like oof, you kind of fell out. You went all the way to the Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, you can see that they could be that guy.
Right.
But they're not there. They're not there yet.
So
I hope they get there.
Right. So it is crazy to think that a game that originated in the United States of America is being overtaken by guys who weren't, born here, I suppose.
Especially when we turn out the talent that we do.
Right. No, USA outside of, 2002 had won the gold medal every year.
Yeah, we
in
dominate in
That's
the
our
Olympics.
game. That's our game. Yeah. So it's because all of the other countries have guys, but just one guy. They don't have a team the way that we do. But either way, I think that the college game and the NBA game need to figure each other out. I think that there needs to be more communication between the two of them because that's what's souring the NBA pool, or as far as United States players. International, keep doing what you're doing, man. You guys are clearly killing the market. We're forced to watch your guys, even if we don't know who they are. They're coming in. They're better recruits. They're ready to go. They've been playing as adults since they were 15, 16 years old. Shit.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that fandom as an NBA fan kind of does hurt, to be fair, because I loved watching college basketball then bleed into the NBA and watching guys that you had followed for a couple, 2-3 years in March Madness and teams maybe get a championship, maybe not. That's not happening anymore. It's just not. NBA. You got a lot of good things going for you, and you got some workarounds, man. But another NBA pod is what this was, Trev.
Heavy. Yeah,
pretty much.
NBA heavy for sure.
So we are going to get into
week.
MLB. We touched on that at the start as well. So that season wears on. Football, give us some love. There hasn't been... We don't want to bore you with Mount Rushmores and better this is and less is that. I want to give you current shit, stuff that actually matters. Dude, we can give you our opinions. We do anyway, but I don't want to do that boring stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there'll be more news coming down the pipe.
There always will,
sooner than later.
Absolutely. So Z will be back. He better be back. I appreciate the two of us. We fit in camera very well. But Downie, come on back, brother. We're glad that you're wrapping up the rodeo. And to everybody who gave us some time today, we appreciate you. Give us a shout out. Buzzsprout, Spotify, YouTube if you want to watch our beautiful faces. We're going to be uploading these beers.
Twitter and Instagram.
Balls&Brews.
Orange and Black this pod.
You guys run a Tough Mudder or Spartan. You won't regret it.
Cheers.
Cheers, and thanks for stopping by.